Every city has a story. Some are written in steel, some are written in concrete. Omaha's was written in the wind. Long before the skyline rose over the Missouri River, before roads crossed these plains, before there was a city called Omaha, this land belonged to a people whose strength came not from one person, but from the tribe. The Omaha people understood something the rest of the world is still trying to learn. A tribe isn't built by names. It isn't built by fame. It's built by loyalty, by sacrifice, by standing shoulder to shoulder when the odds say you shouldn't. That spirit has never left these plains. It lives in every Nebraska sunrise, every field of corn stretching to the horizon, every family that built a life here with calloused hands and relentless determination. For generations, Omaha became known for hard work, for resilience, for grit. But there was one thing missing, a football club that belonged to the city, not borrowed, not imported, earned. For decades, Omaha watched other cities celebrate championships while its own pitches sat quiet. Empty goals, empty stands, dreams waiting for someone brave enough to believe in them. Most people saw an abandoned field, a forgotten city, an impossible challenge. But history has never belonged to the people who waited. It belongs to the people willing to build something where nothing exists. Because every great club, every legendary crest, every dynasty begins exactly the same way. With believers, with strangers, with people willing to carry something bigger than themselves. This wasn't about creating another soccer team. It was about giving a city an identity, a banner to rally behind, a crest to wear with pride. A tribe, not because of where they came from, but because of where they chose to stand. 5 players, 5 different stories, one shared purpose. To build something this city had never seen before. To prove that greatness doesn't always begin in the biggest markets. Sometimes it begins on the plains of Nebraska, in a city that the world forgot, and in a tribe the world would never forget. This is the story of the Omaha tribe. If you thought this was the story of choir boys, young men who always made the right decisions, who never stumbled, who never gave anyone a reason to doubt them, you couldn't be more wrong. Because every tribe has its warriors, and every warrior carries scars. Alejandro, the man the world would one day call Neymar Jr., didn't arrive in Omaha as a hero. He arrived with a reputation. At just 15 years old, he was one of Brazil's brightest young football prospects. Scouts couldn't stop talking about him. Coaches couldn't stop playing him. Defenders couldn't stop him. His feet were magic. His future looked inevitable until it wasn't. Fame came faster than maturity. The spotlight grew brighter. The expectations became heavier. And Alejandro started making decisions that had nothing to do with football. Late nights became routine. Parties replaced recovery. He chased excitement instead of excellence. Eventually, it caught up with him. After a trip to Miami ended with an alcohol-related incident and legal trouble, the headlines spread far faster than highlights ever could. The club that had invested in him made its decision. His contract was terminated. Sponsors disappeared. Phone calls stopped. The same people who once promised him the world suddenly acted as though they had never known his name. For the first time in his life, Alejandro had nowhere to play. Most clubs saw too much risk, too much baggage, too many questions. Then one phone rang. It wasn't Madrid. It wasn't Barcelona. It wasn't one of the giants he dreamed about as a child. It was Omaha, a city no one in Brazil talked about. A club that didn't even exist yet, the Omaha Tribe. To Alejandro, it felt like exile, a place where forgotten players disappeared. He accepted the offer because he believed he had no better choice. He boarded the plane angry at his former club, angry at the media, angry at himself. Most of all, angry that his career had brought him here. His first weeks in Omaha only fueled that resentment. The weather was colder. The crowds were smaller. The facilities weren't glamorous. There were no superstar teammates. No cameras waiting outside training. No one treated him like the next big thing. For the first time in years, he was just another player trying to earn his place. But something unexpected happened. The people of Omaha never asked him about the headlines. They asked how training went. They didn't care about the mistakes that had brought him there. They cared about the man he could still become. Children waited after practice just to ask for an autograph. Volunteers painted seats in the stadium with their own hands. Families who had never met him welcomed him as one of their own. Slowly, the city he never wanted became the city he couldn't imagine leaving. He began staying after training to sign every jersey. He coached local kids on weekends. He learned that wearing the crest meant more than wearing his own name. For the first time since he was a boy in Brazil, football became fun again. Not because of fame, not because of money, because of purpose. Alejandro didn't save Omaha. Omaha saved Alejandro. And somewhere between the headlines he wanted to forget and the family he never expected to find, a troubled teenager became a leader. Not because he was perfect, but because he finally understood that second chances aren't given. They're earned. And every time number 13 stepped onto the pitch, he wasn't playing to erase his past. He was playing to prove it didn't have to define his future.